something you have kind of coined as an expression, and you always talk about it, is are the four pillars of energy security. That energy needs to be affordable, reliable, sustainable,
and available.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So with those four pillars in mind, talking about natural gas, two questions. One, can you share a little bit with our audience, kind of give them a little preview of some of the things you'll be talking about in DC? And then also within that context, how do you see natural gas as being a part of the solution in this energy future that we're really, shaping as we go along?
Yeah, we've covered some of this. I mean, I've reduced the four pillars to three because four seemed to be too hard to remember.
Yeah, apparently.
So I just talk about, cheap, clean, and reliable now. Cheap, clean, and reliable, and that's what we want from energy. Except it's magic. If you think about it, again, if it's a zero-sum game, you can have completely cheap, but that's not going to be that clean or necessarily reliable. Same kind of thing here. So as you come into that middle, I'll talk about what the natural gas looks like in that space and what its future looks like. Resources. The resources for natural gas are very large still globally. We're pulling it out of shale in the United States, just getting started doing that in Russia and the Middle East. Lots of source rocks to produce there in parts of South America. And that hydrates have not in the affordable window yet, but there's a lot of methane there as well. So in terms of a resource, it's really more of a cost curve. What's the cost look like in the region in terms of production? On the demand side, again, such a versatile fuel. It can be used across all demand sectors. One of the few fuels like that, a primary fuel like that. And of course, it can be used as an energy carrier, converted to hydrogen. Now, I don't know if you know it, hydrogen's color coded now. The little H2s actually have colors on them when you look under real close.
So many.
Yeah, there are lots of colors. There's green hydrogen, of course, which comes from hydrolysis, or splitting the water molecule, H2O, by sun and the wind. And we've already talked about whether or not that's renewable. That's green, and that's interesting. There's pink if you use nuclear to split the water molecule, and then there's blue hydrogen, which comes from methane. And energetically, it's a little easier to split a methane molecule than a water molecule. It takes less energy to get that hydrogen. So I see a big future there as well. Hydrogen, useful as a fuel. I could store it in large volumes, and I'll talk about this a little bit in the dialogue session. It's a real prominent topic. We hosted a webinar last week at the Bureau. 170 people attended from over 100 companies on hydrogen. Wow. And looking at how to store it in large volumes and then move it. And then how do you use it? You can burn it to make electricity, or you can use it, the hydrogen in various ways, in fuel cells as an energy carrier, as heat, making steel, lots of other uses of hydrogen. So I think if you think about the life cycle of methane and its future use, you're going to see plenty of uses for methane and then transitioning into uses as hydrogen. Talk a bit about those. And all of that requires some carbon capture and storage. If I'm making hydrogen somewhere out of methane, I got to do something with that carbon. That's another whole industry. So I'll try to paint this picture of an industrial future of professionals who work in the oil and gas and other subsurface industries. And all that stuff I just talked about is subsurface. CCUS is a subsurface challenge, moving it and storing it and monitoring it. Hydrogen storage underneath the earth. Looking at other kinds of uranium and thorium for nuclear, and nuclear to create hydrogen. This all comes from the earth, even geothermal. So there's a lot of opportunity for people who understand that subsurface and how to develop it in the decades and century ahead. Try to lay that out a little bit, with methane right at the heart of all that.
Great. I'm actually happy you brought up the hydrogen conversation, because it's unavoidable these days. It's really interesting. It's the priority of a lot of people. And actually, for the first time this year, we'll have a full panel on hydrogen and the correlation with natural gas and how the two can actually work together. Most importantly, we look forward to seeing you in person and getting together with the whole group of the North American Gas Forum. So, Scott, really appreciate your time. This was a fascinating conversation. Always, your insights are always so great, and I know that our audience loves to hear from you. So, thanks again for your time. It's now time to end our first Energy Dialogues collaborative interview, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
Thanks, Monica.